This panel is co-convened by our conference partner, the Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom. The panel is called Democracy and Human Rights During COVID-19 Thai Perspective. So I would now like to invite the moderator of the session, Vanessa Steinmetz, if you are here, to please introduce yourself as well as the speakers and the panel. So Vanessa, over to you.
Thank you very much, James. Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon. Thank you for the kind introduction of our panel today. I'm very happy to be here today with you for a very important discussion that we have now at the end of the day. So as you already heard today, we want to talk about democracy and human rights during COVID-19 from Thai perspectives. My name is Vanessa Steinmetz. I'm the regional project coordinator at Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom here in Bangkok. And today it is a big pleasure for me to have three friends of the foundation here on the virtual panel to discuss challenges to democracy and human rights during the pandemic, but also to talk about possible solutions. So let me introduce you to our speaker today. First on my list is Associate Professor Punchada Sirivunnabood. She's from the Faculty of Social Science and Humanities at the Mahidol University, and she's also a visiting fellow at ISEAS Yusof Ishak Institute. Welcome. The second one is, or our second speaker is Justice Suntariya Muanpawong, Secretary of the Court of Appeal Region 1. Thank you very much for being here with us. And also Kun Nareeluc, Pairchaiyapoom, Director of International Human Rights Division, Department of Rights and Liberties Protection, Ministry of Justice. Also very happy to have you here this afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. And to jump right into our first question and also our overall question, which would be, how do you assess the situation on human rights and democracy in Thailand during COVID-19? I would like you to share your short presentations with us that you've already prepared. And to start, I would like to give Justice Suntariya the floor. And yeah, I would like you to start. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Actually, I should be the last. However, okay, maybe let me share my screen first. Sorry. That is. Okay. Can you see it already?
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, sorry. So from the okay, can you see it now? As I got the topic, so I thought of many issues, and it's very difficult to find the best one to share with you all today. And actually I thought that other speakers would love to talk about human rights and health equity, but actually they talk more about political rights. However, so I think so I would like to focus on what I saw. I think because I'm a judge, so my concern is about justice and injustice. So I think I would like to talk and share about injustice during COVID-19 in Thailand. And my concerns are about health injustice and social and economic injustice. And I would like to focus on democracy. So I think if we have no participation, there is no justice. And I separate into 4 processes. Firstly, it's about the participation or no participation in pandemic control plan. And then medical resources distribution and economic resources distribution and recovery plan. As you can see or you saw, we are so worried about the resources distribution. Firstly, we ask for masks, facial masks, alcohol, or we talk about vaccine, medicine, and then hospitals and health personnel. I think if we have more democracy, there should have been more participation. So when you talk about the center which control the disease or the pandemic, the Prime Minister led his center. He centralized all power in his hand, and actually it should have been a good center that we can have more collaboration. But in practice, I think our leader just believe in some institutions or some experts. So it's been there have been lack of participation from many people and many areas, especially the parliament participation. I think many measures, or not only health measures but economic measures, they were not decided by the parliament. Mostly it's from the center that the Prime Minister led. And that there has been no enough ministerial collaboration. For example, when they want vaccine, maybe one or only two or very small people, groups of people seek for the good vaccine. They did not believe in the ministerial collaboration, especially the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which could help more, but they did not allow them to help enough. About the decentralized system, I think we have the concentration system. That means the governor must lead everything, and the provincial governor had no enough experience in pandemic control measures. So there were many problems during the process. The big problem was the lack of expert participation. So when we asked about which vaccine we would like to have, why Sinovac? So it came from small group, that decided the kind of vaccine, and many expert participation. Many experts tried to be involved in this decision, but they were not allowed to do so. And also about the people, there's no enough participation from the people, especially the representatives of the vulnerable groups. So it's mean many groups of people, especially the vulnerable, for example, the migrant workers, they were not allowed to have voice. So I think so many problems during the distribution process. So I call this the health inequity. And also about the distribution in economic resources. The government have many financial scheme and investment scheme, or they try to relieve or rehabilitate the economy. They issue many money and loan schemes or debt restructuring, and also tax and customs policy. However, there are relief and rehabilitation or stimulus measures, or even in the future about a recovery plan, there's no enough people to join the process. So from my point of view, the government and our state should increase the participation. It means more participation means more democracy. So the right processes, it should be the process to guarantee the right to information, the right to be heard, and the right to sue. You know, even the right to sue. Some government leaders so try to issue the bill that they want to avoid their legal liability to when they mismanage the COVID-19 situation. So I think this is only my short ideas to share with you today. We can talk more in the Q&A process session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Justice Suntariya, for your ideas, and also to remind us that participation is always needed to conquer injustice. Thank you very much. We will discuss later on, as I said, in the Q&A a little bit more in depth. The next slide I would like to see, or I would like to have Professor Punchada to be the next presenter for our slides. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me share my slide. Okay. Well, today, first of all, thanks ISEAS Centers and also Friedrich Naumann Foundation for having me at this webinar. And I have been working with FNF for a long time. Thank you for always trusting me. Well, my talk today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the governments and also the protests and how it's related to the COVID-19 crisis in Thailand. Well, as you can see, you know, maybe some of you already know that the military government have been controlling Thailand since 2014, and then they have an election in 2019, and then the government trying to issue a lot of bills in order to maintain their power. And you know, recently we still have the same set of government who control the country since 2014, military coup. Well, in Thailand, right after the 2019 elections, there's a protest, you know, led by the young generations. Okay, the young generations. These young generations protests, you know, started around the beginning of last year, 2020, when the super fancy and super popular political parties, Future Forward Party, was dissolved by the Constitutional Court in February 2020. And the protests, you know, become more aggressive, you know, becomes expand to other sides of the countries, not only in Bangkok, but some other provinces. And these protests, most of them were organized by the young generations. By I say young generations, I refer to our students in the university, and most of them are, you know, or younger than 25 years old. The two main group of this, you know, young generations are the Free Youth Group and the Free People Movement, and also the United Front of Thammasat and demonstrations. So this young generation protest last year, you know, basically they offered 3 demands to the government. First, they want the Prime Minister to resign. Second, they want the constitutional amendment. And the last one, they want the government to stop intimidate, you know, people in Thailand. Well, but in September last year, the demands expand to other things, especially the reform of the monarch. Well, even though we have, you know, the protests almost every week, and, you know, the students come and go, they did not really stay on the street like the previous protests, but nothing changed. Prayut administration and the Prime Minister continue to stay in power. Well, but this year, you know, there's still more going on protests. For this year protest is, you know, there's a lot more activist group join the protest and the young generations. I would say that if you can see from my screen here, the first two groups here that I circle are the group that belong to the young generations. The second one here is also, the second group here is also the young generation, but they are more like graduate school, and some of them even graduated from other country outside Thailand. And this group, the last three group, are the group that they were the activists, political activists in the past. They joined the young generation because of the failures of the government to handle the COVID-19 crisis in Thailand, and also the failure of the government to distribute the vaccine to peoples around Thailand. So that's why all these group, especially the older generation, not the older, but the previous protester. Maybe you heard about the red shirt and the yellow shirt in the past of Thai politics, right? So then this group, they joined together with the young generation to protest against the government. But surprisingly enough, I don't think that this group, the older generation's protester, they would join the young generation's demands on the reform of the monarchy. So basically, all these protest groups, in Thailand, they only have the same major idea that they want the prime minister to resign because of the failures of the COVID-19 to handle the COVID-19 crisis, and also the distribution, the failures of the government to distribute the vaccines. Well, as you can see, this is the two persons that they will join the protest before the 2014 coup. This guy, was the leaders of the Red Church movement during Thaksin Shinawatra administration. He sort of support Thaksin and Pheu Thai party. And the other one here, this guy, he is also the lawyers. He is the one who led the yellow shirt protest against the Yingluck and Thaksin administration. So basically, these two people, they are sort of an enemy to each other. But this year protest, they sort of joined the protest together. By joining, I didn't mean that they joined together, but they organized the protest at the same time on the same weekend. And they have a different spot of the protest, but basically they want the government to get out, and they want someone to come to replace the administration and to handle the crisis of the pandemic better than the current prime minister. Well, maybe you heard from the news, because there's a lot more violence lately for the protest. As you can see from this one, this is a group of the young generation. They stage a protest. I would say that every day. If you have been traveling in Bangkok before, maybe the area, the Dindang area, the Dindang Junction, which is kind of close to the prime minister residence. So this young generation, this picture was taken last week. This young generation, they joined the protest, and then they stage the violence almost every night. Even last night, they're trying to form a big group to walk into the prime minister residence, but the police came on time and trying to eliminate the group. And then finally, the group, about 15 of them were arrested by the police. And the other protest, as you can see from this picture, this is not the traffic in Bangkok. Maybe some of you might familiar with the traffic in Bangkok, right? But this one is the car mobs that, everyone, because of the COVID-19, people are scared of, the pandemic, and they don't want to get the virus. So then they join the protest by getting into their cars, driving around the city. And then, there's not only just this group of the car mob protest, there's some other group spread all over Bangkok. Well, I want you to, keep in mind something, that the police, the police, always come to arrest the young generation and the protest of the young generation because, they have the protest quite close to the sensitive area of Bangkok. For example, like this group in the picture, they protest near the prime minister residence. They don't really scared of COVID-19 anymore. There's a lot of media interview them while you are out on the street. you didn't really scare of the COVID-19. They say that they cannot scare anymore. If they stay at home, they can die because they don't have money. It's the time for the government to do something, or maybe to change the prime minister to make the situation better. So the police always stay at the area that, the protester, there's a protester near the sensitive areas of Bangkok, like Prime Minister residence or the Royal Palace. But if you look at the protests that, car mobs, or the protests that organized by the older generation, they are organized the protests in the economics or business areas of Bangkok. So basically, they just drove around Bangkok, trying to get people to join their car mobs. So then the police did not really stop them. So then they let the protest going on until they drive around Bangkok and come back to their original point, and then they just separate and then go home. So then the police did not really arrest these protesters. So as you can see, is that because of in Thailand, we wish, like after the military coup, the Friedrich administration at that time, and his military leader has promised that to Thai people that they would bring, reconciliation, peace, and then they will try to reform a lot of things in Thailand. For example, like they want to reform police, they want to reform politics, they want to reform, decentralization in Thailand. But technically, recently, there's nothing changed. And then, the COVID-19 crisis became one of the points that people trying to get together once again after we didn't have a big protest for a long time. But now we have all the protests come on the street, and I would say like almost every day, the big protests came on the street in Bangkok almost every week, just, asking for the prime minister to resign. And we want to see, a new prime minister or a new person who can handle the COVID-19 crisis better than this current administrations. So I think I'm going to stop my presentations at only this, and then I'm happy to get a comments and questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Punchada, for this very interesting kickoff. Let's discuss later a little bit more further. Last but not least, Kun Nareeluc, I cannot see you at the moment, but I hope that you're still with us and that you are ready to share your slides with us. Are you with us, Kun Nareeluc? Okay, I didn't hear from her. Hopefully she will go back soon, and then also we will look at her slides and have a little Q&A with her as well. So then I would she's out of the room. Okay, she will come back, I'm sure. Okay, then Justice Suntariya, then maybe I can start asking you. Oh yes, this is your slides again. I wanted to ask you a little bit because it's interesting that the discussion in Germany and also in Thailand, or what you've shown about the lack of participation, is in some sense a little bit similar. Also in Germany, we had a lot of complaints that the parliament was not sufficient. Was not sufficient in the process, involved in the process of having new COVID measures in place. They would answer, or one of the answers would be that, it's a pandemic, it is very urgent, you have to act fast. And if you go through the process of participation from a lot of people, it would delay, fast actions or fast action approach. What would you answer to this argument?
Yeah, I'm a public lawyer, so I believe in the legal measures. So it means I can accept the legal measures that the government can centralize their power and use it immediately, fast and to have like a rapid response, especially when they announce the state of emergency or they have many measures, for example, the lockdown measures or social distancing measure. However, many decisions were not really, we did not have to have some decision must be fast, but some were not. We can wait. For example, when you decide which measure to stop the mobility, so you need to do it very quickly. However, when you decide which kind of vaccine you would like to have, maybe you have time to think or to consider or to ask for the consultation. But the government believes that they must do it so everything rapidly. So this is a big problem. So I think many measures, especially the economic measures, they can wait for the parliament. And I think the European Parliament try to change their way of doing. So it means some representative can decide, or they still have they still open their parliaments. But in Thailand, we thought that we could not wait. So this is a big problem. And as you talk about the German experience, so I think, for example, about the beds or ICU allocation in your country. So you talk a lot, not only about the technical problems. So this was the ethical problem. So I learned that many ethical and medical board work so hard to set the rule. How can you prioritize the ventilators or ICU or the room, ICU beds, something like that. So this is a great thing that you can do it in crisis. But in Thailand, no one seek to find the equity way. So this is the lack of participation. So I don't think only about the political concern, but I mean even the knowledge management concern. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have some very concrete measures in mind? You already said that if everyone could, decide about which vaccines to come in and also to take, that would be one thing that would have been better if there would have been more participation. Are there other measures where you think that people would decide differently if they would have had a more say in it?
Yeah, surely. I think even in Thailand, you can see only some doctors had a say, and many doctors were left behind. So and it's ridiculous that even the Minister of the Education, so they said that the best vaccine is the vaccine that we have in hands. So it's not true, because the best vaccine must be the better one that we try hard to seek and to find. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I also see Kun Nareeluc joining us again. Very happy about that.
Sorry.
Hi.
Yeah.
Oh, no worries.
Hi, sorry, my computer restart itself. Sorry.
Yeah,
I don't know what
it
happened.
happens.
Yeah.
Are you free? Are you open to share your slides with us now?
Yes, but can you please stop share screen, please?
Cannot do it. So sorry. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, can you see it? Okay, good. Okay. On behalf of the Ministry of Justice, I would like to thank Friedrich Naumann Foundation and Asia Center and all partners for inviting me to be part of this panel and part of the event, and also join the panel with all distinguished panelists. And as a core government agency responsible for promotion and protection of human rights, we are not only see the positive trend in Thailand on human rights and democracy, but we are also well aware of the challenge in terms of exercising human rights, enforcement of law, and control of public health, especially during the time of COVID pandemic. Okay, I would like to start with the general public. I think everyone here agree that in Thailand, we see more people, especially young generation, they are more brave and dare to speak up, express their opinion and call out for their rights and the things and all rights that they require. The many issues of human rights were raised in several platforms. A number of organizations and media recently present the news and information and disseminate the information by referring to human rights as well as international human rights standard, which is actually in turn help created the human rights awareness to the public. The current situation, especially management of COVID pandemic, encourage people the management of the situation at the moment and the management of COVID pandemic is an important factor that encourage people to call for their rights. And as a human rights organization, on the one hand, we are pleased to see the increasing of human rights knowledge and awareness among public, particularly in the young generation. We are pleased also to see more discussion on many human rights issues, as well as efforts to exercise human rights through various platforms, both online and offline, like a protest, especially the creativity of the young generation in the theme of protest, in everyday protest was kind of very interesting to me as a human rights lawyer. However, on the other hand, we are indeed worried about the accurate of the message and information sent to the public, because misinformation could also lead to the misunderstanding and can cause conflict as well. We are also concerned on the misbehavior, violence, and ignorance from the consequence of action that could lead to violation of law as well as rights, privacy, and reputation of others. As for the law enforcement officer, it is very challenging, but from my experience working in the field of human rights for many years, if comparing the current situation in the past, I think we see the positive trend that the law enforcement officer are more open-minded and interesting to learn about international human rights law, and we see more willing and effort to improve their practice to be in line with international human rights standard. The human rights courses are now included in the curriculum or training curriculum for police, army, and correction, but the challenge is remain in terms of implementation, especially for the officer at practitioner level. Sometimes they are trying to manage, like the situation of protest, they are trying to manage and control the situation, but their actions perhaps not so appropriate and compared to the nature of the situation. And that can also cause conflict and lead to the misunderstanding among the public. And of course, it affects to the image of the organization as a whole as well. So in this regard, Ministry of Justice as a core agency responsible for international human rights treaties, such as the ICCPR, the ICSCR, the Convention Against Torture, Convention on Enforced Disappearance. We are monitor this situation and supporting the exercise of freedom of expression as well as peaceful assembly to promote the human rights and democracy through the 5 main roles as follow. So this is the key role that we play in terms of monitoring and promoting the human rights and democracy. First, we set up the team to monitor and assess the situation, analyze the proposed and suggestion as well as opinion in response to the situation to ensure human rights respect to the MOJ executive as well as the government. Our duty is to provide suggestion, advice, recommendation from the perspective of human rights and related international human rights standards. This is to help our government, executive, and our staff to think from the human rights standpoint and implement an appropriate manner. For example, during the situation of protest, we need to explain them about the international human rights standard related to the management of protest, the principle of necessity, then principle of proportionality, the scope of freedom of expression and peaceful assembly, and to ensure that every stakeholders understand and not violate human rights standards. Secondly, we also we send a proactive team to monitor the human rights related situation in the area, in the field of in the area that have protests. And also our officer we inform when there human rights violation occur in the field. Our officer will inform the rights and also provide assistance to the victim of human rights violation by informing them about the rights and the channel to access to the assistance provided by the ministry. And this is to ensure that everyone, no matter who you are and regardless of any differences, can access to justice and assistance provided by the ministry. For example, the victim of human rights violation and anyone affected from protests or innocent person can file a complaint related to human rights violation, get free legal advice from our lawyer, and also if innocent affected from the protest can also like perhaps they suffer from physical injury. The victims are also entitled to the right to receive a state compensation from the State Compensation Act, and also can submit a request to be a witness to be protected under the Witness Protection Act. Third, we have duty to raise awareness to general public as well as law enforcement officers and government officers as well on international human rights standards, including how to manage the protests. Recently, we held several online training courses and forum and meeting, and to create understanding about international human rights standards under the ICCPR, especially the freedom of expression and peaceful assembly. We invite Professor Vichit Mantraporn as he is a human rights guru, and I believe that everyone here, he is well known by everyone here. And we also invite Professor Yuval Shani, former UN Human Rights Committee, to train and to explain them about the international principle and international human rights standard on how to manage the protests and how to ensure the freedom of expression, and especially highlight on the CCPR General Comment 37, which is just launched few years in related to the Article 21 on peaceful assembly. We also organized several sessions with civil society to discuss about the effects of COVID-19 and especially those of vulnerable groups, and we convey that message to the relevant government agency for them to improve their work and to aware of the concern. Fourth, we have developed several forms of media to increase understanding on freedom of expression and peaceful assembly and civil and political rights, and etc. And for instance, a number of booklet, brochure, infographic, podcast, video clip were developed and disseminated to the law enforcement officer, and also it can easily access by the general public through our website as well. And recently, we have a project with Friedrich Naumann Foundation and the Punch Up company to create a digital platform to disseminate knowledge on international covenant on civil and political rights. And hopefully it will create the more interesting and interactive platform or learning space for those who are interested in civil and political rights. And this project is expected to finish by the end of this year or earlier next year. And I hope this can be a learning platform for everyone as well. Fifth, the last one that we would like to ensure that everyone will have a chance to access to MOJ service by enhancing access to justice through online platform, which we call it Justice Care application. So this is an application that leads you to all the service by Ministry of Justice. For example, the submitting complaint related to human rights violation, get free legal advice, free mediation, the state compensation, and access to justice fund and witness protection, and etc. And in terms of political prisoner, we also provide advice to Department of Correction and try to encourage them to improve their work and their treatment to be in line with international standard as well as current context, such as we encourage them to allow the online visit with the family and lawyer, to have a quarantine measure to have before entering, and to reduce a risk of COVID-19 infection, provide medical screening and regularly check up for the officer as well as the prisoner as well. And also we try to educate them under the WHO guideline on how to manage the detention center in line with international standard. So, I mean, for the whole picture, to sum up, I would like to end up by emphasizing that Ministry of Justice is involved at every stage to ensure that human rights in the protest, before the protest, by raising awareness on human rights and international standards to the public as well as law enforcement officer during the protest, by monitor and situation and provide the advice to the government, and also to inform the rights to the people joining the protest as well. And the post-protest, after the protest, we involve by ensuring everyone can access to justice service by the ministry. This is kind of our duty during the time of the protest, and we hope that we can work more on this, and we are open to this discussion in this regard. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kun Nareeluc. Very happy to have you back with us. I have a question for you. You said there are a lot of misinformation that are leading to misunderstandings. Can you give us some examples? What are you talking about when you talk about misinformation?
Okay, misinformation is, I think everyone here is aware, especially the misinformation on the information related to the COVID management, or the work of the government or the policy of the government. Sometimes it can lead to the misinformation and can spread to lead to the misinformation and misunderstanding towards the policy of the government and the work of other like government agencies.
Do you have a concrete example of this misinformation?
Yep. Okay. How to explain? It's about the way that they try to about vaccine, about how they distribute and manage the vaccine. And there are a lot of misinformation on this, but also there is also a confusion among the government officer as well. So it's not only the misinformation from the side of the media or the public, but it's also misinformation, like confusion among the government official as well, and it lead to the misinformation and lead to the I think the misunderstanding among the public on the intention, the good intention of the government.
Okay, thank you very much. We already have some questions from the other participants in the Zoom call and also from the floor. I will get to them in a minute. Before that, I would like to ask Professor Punchada. We just heard that there is a positive trend in terms of human rights in Thailand, even in times of COVID-19. Would you agree? You're on mute. Sorry. Yes.
All right. Well, I wouldn't agree, because if you look at how the police trying to arrest the young generation, and there's some fighting every night, and especially last night, when the police came onto they tried to attack the young generation by getting to the truck, and then they just, came from the truck very fast, arrest everyone, about 15 protesters. So I think this kind of thing, even though the police said that they did it on the standard of the human rights and, some sort of police standard to arrest the protest, to control the protest, but there's a lot of fighting, and there's a lot of weapons. As you can see, one of the protesters, he is the celebrity. He lost his eye because of this protest about couple weeks ago. And also another young generation, he got shot by someone, but we didn't really know where the bullet came from. So I think it's kind of dangerous when we reach the point that we did not really know where the bullet came from. So it's maybe from the protester and, maybe from the police. But, if the police trying to control the protest in the way that, on the standard of how the police, in the global standard of how to control the protest, I think we can reduce violence, which is kind of more increasing. It's kind of go in another way. It's the violence seems like to be more increasing every day. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Justice Suntariya, what is your take on it?
Yeah, I think according to the rule of law principles, so the government should respect the human rights even among the crisis. And I think this time, I think they apply the pandemic control measures to control the politics or political movement. So everything is terrible because I think maybe they have the old problems, between the government and the protesters. And later when the government mismanaged many things, so the people try to cry out, to come out and talk and to voice their interests. However, the government stereotyped and thought that the people were the same group and asked for the same things beforehand. So this is very critical. And I think so when they extended the state of emergency in the past, sometimes it's suitable according to the critical situation, but sometimes we did not need the state of emergency. However, they use this to control the mob, the demonstration. So thank you.
Thank you very much. There is a question. Yes, I've seen you. Yes, Mahdi Santori, could you? Oh, sorry, your background noise is quite. Could you please turn on your camera and introduce yourself and then ask your question, please?
Yeah. Indeed, okay, thank you very much, Vanessa, for the opportunity for me to raise the questions. And it's a really interesting panel from panel 5 regarding democracy and human rights during COVID-19, a Thai perspective. It is said that the government declared a state of emergency and it leads to increase the criminalizations. So my question are, the first one, what are other forms of violations to the foreign student particularly and activists and also street vendor when they breach of the regulation during the state of the emergency? I mean that what are other form of the violations to the students when they breach the regulations during the state emergency that conducted by the Thai government? And could you please provide more elaboration and also provide some examples of violations to the foreign students and other activists? The second one, it is said that there are some possible solution in your recommendations. There will be a short solution and also medium solutions. Could you please more elaboration on this during the COVID-19 on how to tackle the challenge in relation to the human rights and democracy? That's all about my presentation, and thank you very much for the response on this.
Thank you very much. One quick question. Maybe I was the only one. I couldn't really hear the beginning of your first question. Could you shorten it and give it again?
Okay, the first one, it might be about any kind of the violations that got by the foreign students and also activists during the COVID-19 when the Thai government imposed the state of emergency in Thailand. Could you please elaborate about this and provide also more example of the violations for them? This is the first question.
Okay, thank you very much. Someone from the panel would like to answer this question. I think to the second question, thank you very much for this as well. I would come to it a little bit later until we've talked about the current situation, then we will also talk about possible solutions. Professor Punchada, you've opened your mic.
Yeah, well, if I understand you correctly, you asked whether any foreign student violate the emergency state of emergency. Is that right? Because the voice is really unclear. Okay. Well, you know what? I think it's very interesting. Even though we have a protest, surprisingly enough, all the protesters went home when it's 9 o'clock. When it's 9 o'clock, no one on the street, which is kind of surprised me a little bit, because normally the protests always going on, right? Day by day, some even stay on the street, trying to get people on the street, stay overnight, and then to keep continuing the protest. But this year, when it's gets into 9 o'clock, all the protesters went home. Even the protester in the dangerous area, the Dindang junctions, they always went home at 9 or today at 10 o'clock or at most like midnight. So and so most of the students, if they don't really use the violence, if they don't really throw the the ball, it's not if they did not really throw the firework or throw the, what do you call it, it's a crystal ball, to the police. The police did not really arrest them, but they might use the water cannon. They may use the some kind of a fake bullet trying to get rid of the protesters. So that's why the violence come. But for the foreign student, I don't see any foreign student joining this kind of protest. And most of the foreign students in Thailand, I don't know in other cases of other university, but in Mahidol, in Zula and Thammasat, most of the foreign students, they cannot get in Thailand right now. Because of the COVID-19, some of them still in their own country. So then for this protest, I don't see any foreign student joining the protest. Thank you.
Can I have a second question to that? Why is it mostly? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Justice Suntariya. Yeah.
Add a little bit, because in my court, in the Court of Appeal region, one is the provinces around Bangkok. So many cases about the foreigners, especially the Myanmar people, the migrant workers violated the law. They came out in the curfew time. So this is mostly the court cases that happened. And I heard that during the cluster, a big cluster in Samut Sakhon province, which among the fishery industry. So many Myanmar activists try to protest for the rights of the migrant workers also, but I don't know whether they were sued or were prosecuted or not. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nareeluc, would you like to add?
I have nothing to add to the answer, but I just want to clarify my statement in my presentation that I said that I see the positive trend that in terms that people are there to speak out and call for their rights, but there is still challenging in law enforcement, and also the control of the COVID pandemic crisis. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes. Professor Punchada, I also wanted to ask you, we've seen, you've talked about the protest and also people coming together in the protest, but at the same time, the Thai society seems very, very divided. And since the pandemic is far from over, do you see some solution to this?
Well, it's a little bit hard. I would say that the polarization in Thailand is going to continue, especially when this current government continue to be in power. Like last Friday, there's last Saturday is the no confidence debate in Thailand. And then, that the result of the debate sort of make a lot of young generations and people feel like this is not right because the prime minister can survive. And, I think the only way that might be possible to get, Thailand become more peaceful and more, compromisation is maybe we have to wait for the next election, which I think by the situation right now, it's possible to have the next election before the end of the 4-year terms of the government. And I expect that maybe like before the first half of next year, because, right now the prime minister, by the September 18, the parliament will try to pass the new electoral law or electoral system. And if it's passed, it's kind of signal that we might have the new election before the end of the 4-year term of the government. And the new election, maybe we can see something change, and maybe we can see some new faces, maybe we can see some new cabinet and prime minister, which I would say that we should have to cross our finger that it would be better than this current situation.
Thank you very much. I also have some questions from the floor. So in case Justice Suntariya or Kun Nareeluc does not want to add something to this, I can also follow up with the next question from the floor, which is also to Professor Punchada. Has the Milk Tea Alliance or other cross-border connection contribute to the youth involvement in Thailand? What do you think?
It's unclear voice for the first part.
Oh, sorry. I have to see it again. Has the Milk Tea Alliance or other cross-border connection contribute to the youth involvement in Thailand?
I don't. That's in last year. Yes, I think there's some news that there's other cross-border involved in the youth protest, but this year, I think no, I don't think so, because mostly it's about the people who are dissatisfied with the government. And I think it's really interesting, as I mentioned in my presentation, that it's really hard to find that the two groups that were fighting to each other for the last decade. I mean, before the 2014, they have been fighting for the last 10 years. But now they get together. I think it's really interesting that those activist group, that they have a different idea of politics. They support different political party but they join together with the young generation to protest. I think right now it's only the peoples in Thailand mainly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see another raised hand from, I hope I pronounce it correctly, Nukila Ivanti. Would you like, or I would like you to also open your video camera, if that's possible, and to introduce yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, I need to turn this. Okay. Thank you, Vanessa. I'm glad with this panel because I heard many insightful information and very useful information regarding human rights in times of a pandemic. I would like to, I'm really interested about the presentation from Nareeluc, if I pronounce your name correctly, regarding the online complaint platform provided by Ministry of Justice. My question, if there is any loss of the victim, right? A loss of the victims, like a student protester that I've heard about the case. And then if it is proven that there are violations have occurred in terms of that in during the student protester, or in any other case, like if there is any unemployment because of the layoff by the businesses, how the MOG process this this case. How many cases were handled during the pandemic times, and then how about the public participation regarding during this situation of pandemic? I think that's all, Vanessa.
Thank you very much. I give you a question to Kun Nareeluc.
Thank you for the question, Nukila. For the Ministry of Justice, we're responsible for State Compensation Act. And in case that there is a victim suffer from the physical injured from the protest, they are eligible to submit the request for state compensation from our office. And the state compensation is include the medical treatment fee and also loss of income fee as well. And also they will pay by according to the real payment and the receipt. But in your question asking about losing job from the protest or from this kind of COVID pandemic, that is not under the responsibility of Ministry of Justice. But we will, if they submit that kind of complaint, we will refer it to Ministry of Labor. Because Ministry of Labor is dealing with the employment and supporting the people or developing skill of people to get a job and find a way to find a channel or find a way to enhance the opportunity for people to get a job during the COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have another question from the floor to Justice Suntariya. I will read it. I hope you understand my voice correctly. From your experience and observation of the justice system, do Thai or foreign nationals feel confident, secure, and just human rights transgressions by the Thai state?
You mean in general or only specific? Yeah, we face the big challenge, especially the Court of Justice. Actually, only the bail problem. Yeah, we will ask for the bail reform. So and the people. As Dr. Punchada said, so we are facing the polarization, not only the social, but the political. So I think the people don't have trust in every state organization. And when the court or the judges are on the bench and we work closely to two parties, so it's difficult to believe that we have enough justice or we have a fair trial. But however, I would like to say that we the judges work closely with our Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. I think the former ones or the current one, the leading officers or the justices, so they try hard to increase the human rights and make sure that the rights of the people must be guaranteed. And especially our current Chief Justice, the First Lady, Supreme Court Chief Justice. So she deliver many, many rules or the regulations that the judges must work so hard. And, we work every day without a holiday or vacation, or, we work on Saturday and Sunday. And I mean, in the past, the bail release must be only on the working day, but now you can have it on Saturday or Sunday. This is the new rules that we need to follow. And we decrease many, about the money that the guarantee, the financial insurance, or that the people need to give us, something like that. So I think we try to develop ourselves, and also about not only the criminal law, especially in the labor law or the private law, civil law. So we try hard to have new rules. We push to have like new laws because of the force majeure or the confusing in the interpreting of the law, something like that. So I think the court try our best to improve ourselves. However, according to the people's request, sometimes it's not easily and rapidly done. Thank you.
Can I add?
Please.
Okay, yeah. So I think I agree with Dr. Suntariya that the losing trust in every government officer is a big problem in Thailand at the moment. So I think that in practice there are a lot of people, a lot of government officers work in a good intention, but there are some still remain remain challenging in a big and a problem to the government officer as well. And I would like to highlight on one good example from the court that the recent civil court issued the injunction against the Prime Minister decree banning the fake news with the unlawful and restrictive and censorship threat. And I'm not sure about you aware of this, that the civil court has suspend the order of the Prime Minister to ban the fake news. This is that they say that this is restrict the freedom and human rights. Right, the court mentioned freedom and rights in the decision, which is I think this is a very good development, and also people are happy with this. So I think this is one of the good example from the court.
Thank you very much. Earlier, I promised to also talk with you about solutions, as well as in short term, also in long term. Justice Suntariya, you already spoke about participation and the need of participation. What are other, for example, short-term solutions to make sure that human rights and democracy are vivid even in COVID times?
Yeah, I myself have done a lot engaged with the justice reform process. However, I found it's very difficult when you talk about like the final state instead of you talk more about the political platform. So I think firstly you have to open the platform for the people. You must guarantee democracy in political movement, and yeah. And about the justice sector, I believe in democracy. So I think we need to think more to democratize the justice section. Even among our justice personnel, among the court, we should have more democracy in the court of justice, in the judges administration, and also in the police administration also, and then a participation from the people to improve our work, and also about the whole picture, the big picture. So about the social and economic justice, as I am so interested in. So I think we need to talk more about the recovery and resilience plan, and we can prove that the government have no enough vision and insights to see the real picture that we are facing. So I think even the next scenario that Thailand will face, we need more participation, and then also especially about the human rights issue, and also the social crisis in the future, or the public debt, for example, or we talk a lot about the loss, the generation loss, or the loss in the economy and society. So I think now we need to open every forum to talk more about our future, and one justice reform is one of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Same question also to Professor Punchada.
Yeah, I think if we divide between short term and long term, for the short term, I think, now Thailand is in crisis, not in political crisis, but in other, government justice crisis. Recently, we have a police crisis as well. And, for the short term, in terms of political crisis, I think the government should do something to listen to the young generation. Because the young generation today is going to be the one who rule the country in the future. If you don't really listen to them, and it's now seemed like the government ignore them, they don't really care whatever happens. And if you ask one of the Deputy Prime Minister, Friedrich, the only answer that you can get from him is, I don't know. So then, you know, as a prime minister, as the deputy prime minister, you should say something to make public, to, you know, enhance the public trust and make people and young generation believe that they can hope for at least a little change in the future. So then I think on the short term, it's important for the government to just, you know, turn their head and then listen to the, you know, the voice of the young generation to make the situation more peacefully. And for the long term, you know, in Thailand, most of the crisis came from the distrust of people for the democracy in Thailand. Democracy here doesn't really mean that democracy in politics itself, but it's democracy in justice system, democracy in the police system, you know, in every system in Thailand. Mostly in Thailand, you know, we are relied on the patronage system. So basically, it's not real democracy. So if in the long term, you know, since we are going to have a new election soon, I think the government should try to show the public that they are enter in the politics, they are enter in the parliament by the democratic means. So then start with the electoral system, start with the election that we will have soon to show people that, you know, you will go through the process, you know, as other countries, and also to show the people that you can be empowered by the democratic means of the election. I think it's really important to, you know, prove and to enhance the democratic level in Thailand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kun Nareeluc, what do you think?
Yeah. So I always, my job is to provide human rights advice to the government, and also our team do our best in providing, you know, human rights principle and what should do and what must do and what shouldn't do in terms of in line with international human rights standards. So what we encourage the government is try to have a constructive dialogue with the leader of the young generation and also listen to them. And in long term, I think it is our duty also to building trust and build up capacity of both sides and building trust among both sides. So we will do more on raising awareness and also try to build up a good relationship among them. And also, of course, the building up capacity on human rights is the must that we have to do, no matter, you know, it takes very long time, but it's something that we have to continue doing it for build up the capacity and awareness raising on human rights. And we will also do our best in providing the good suggestion and correct advice to the government.
Thank you very much. Since we're talking about solutions, what could the government or other institutions could have had done differently since the start of the pandemic to make sure, yes, democracy participation? Should they have also installed different measures, or was it wrong all about to have the strategy of zero COVID? Should they have, you know, decided early on to go more to have a rapid vaccination in the country? What do you think? What could have prevented demonstrators or protesters go to the street and be so unhappy about how things are going now? Professor Punchada, maybe you want to?
Okay, first of all, I think the government have to show their honest on, you know, basically, for example, like for the COVID-19 cases. Well, the number that we see today, that's a lot of criticism that is not the real number of cases and the numbers of deaths. And surprisingly enough, the number of cases were reduced rapidly during the no confidence motions last week. You know, before the no confidence motion debates, we have about 18,000. During the no confidence motions, the number dropped to 14,000, which is kind of surprising. And if you look at, you know, other countries, it's really impossible that you can drop 4,000 in just a couple of days. So then there's a lot of criticism on the number. But if you look at the numbers of deaths, it's still high, 200 plus every day, right? So then at first, they have to be honest on the data, so then people knows and prepare. Now, if you talk about the crisis, pandemic crisis with all your friends in Bangkok, or my friends in Bangkok, we all agree that by the end of this month, the numbers of cases going to go up again, and we can reach like 20,000 again, because now we can see that a lot of people go out on the street because they saw the numbers of the government is really low, right? So then they did not really trying to protect themselves. They just going out again. So then we can have more cases once again. So then the honest on the number of the cases and honest on the number, honest on how to handle the crisis is really important. The second one is the distribution of vaccine. I think Dr. Suntariya mentions about this. I think we have a right to protect ourselves. This is a basic right under the Constitution. You have the right to protect yourself, right? And I think everyone have the right to get the vaccine that they want. But now, even though a lot of a private hospital trying to import vaccine from other countries, mRNA vaccines, COVAX, vaccines. Some other country already reserved the, more, I don't really know the name of the technology, but there's some new technologies on the vaccine, like Japan. So Singapore's already did, but Thailand still has no plan. This is, the failure to handle the vaccine is not only showing the failure within the country, but it's also show the failures of the government in the international relations. So basically, it means that there should be, a weak connection between the government in Thailand and other countries. I want to make an example of Singapore, because I also work in Singapore, so I see how it's going, right? In Singapore, the government prepared very well. They separate a group of people who can get the vaccine by age. So then the people who are older than 60, they can get the vaccines first. And then you go by age, right? Until now, they go to the people who are younger than 18. But in Thailand, the vaccine is really confusing. So then, people who are older than 60, they're supposed to get the vaccine, but they did not really get it. And surprisingly, now, if you look at the data on the provinces that get the vaccine, Buriram province, which is the province that belongs to the Minister of Public Health, get the higher vaccine shot than other provinces like Chiang Mai or Khon Kaen or Nakhon Ratchasima, which is a big city and it's a big economic spot of the regions and also the tourist spot. And you can see that because of the unclear policy on the vaccine, it's make people distrust. So in the future, if the government to make more trust and they want to make more democracy to reach everyone, like everyone have the right to get the vaccine, I think, they should consider to do something, or maybe Dr. Suntariya said, right, have to listen to other people, not just only a couple of medical doctors who are walking around the Prime Minister. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Justice Suntariya, I don't know if you want to react directly. I also wanted to ask you, in Taiwan, you've seen that they handled first the crisis or the COVID cases quite well, and they also had experts very much in the center of their strategies. Would you also look to Taiwan to say, well, Thailand could have handled it better like they did?
I agree with you that many countries, not only Taiwan, but even among the scientists, they did not accept the way the government has done. So I think we have many experts, not only from universities, but from many institutions, and the government should invite them to join their hands to improve this. And I think about the right to information. So if the government try to increase the transparency in every step that they worked, for example, about the contract that they, to buy a vaccine, many activists try to find this. And I think maybe it's difficult to open everything 100% to the public. However, you can show some substance that you have done with the others. Otherwise, the people will have questions, and then the fake news come around. So I think just increase the right to information, and then if this right is abused, so we should have the right to sue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kun Nareeluc, what could the government have done differently, or what can we learn from this pandemic?
Okay, I think the big problem is the communication and transparency, because people lack of trust of the government because of non-transparency communication. So the problem is, I think they have to provide the accurate information in a very in a quick response to the situation and to the management, and also they have to communicate clearly with the transparency information as well, because the confusion is not only in the society but among government government agency. There are lots of confusion as well, even among government office agency. So it's no wonder why society is very confused about information, because among government officers there's still a lots of confusion. So I think the government need to prove that they are show their work with transparency and accurate information. This is to avoid the gossip or fake news and misinformation. This is the first way, the best way that they can gain back the trust from the people. Kind of the initial stage.
Thank you very much. Now we have a little bit more than 10 minutes left for our panel. So I would also like to say again, if you have any questions for our panelists from the audience, please go ahead. Please use this last chance to also raise your hands. We're very happy to take your questions in as well. Another thing that I would like to discuss with you is also, Justice Suntariya, you talked about injustice and also injustice in COVID times, and you also see that the students go on the street and younger activists, but also people who are highly affected not only by the COVID but also by the measurements, are especially the poor citizens, informal workers. What could have done differently, or if the next wave is coming, how can you prevent and make the life easier, or maybe soften the hardships?
Yeah, as I told you, I think the judges try to adjust ourselves to work so hard, especially about the digital court or electronic court in order to simplify to our works. However, I think we are facing maybe two big challenges. Firstly, the political polarization. For me, it's like it's happened once in a lifetime. I think beforehand, in the past, we did not have big challenge like this. And also about the COVID time. So for me, it's like the World War. So, but the work of the officers are. We have like slow bureaucratic system as ever. So this is the big thing that we need to change. And for me, according to from my opinion, we cannot solve the problem as the regular problem. So for example, we don't need right now only justice reform, but we need to understand the transitional justice reform. So this is bigger, and we need the long process to solve the small problem within the big problems. And I don't think the judges or many officers understand the transitional justice. In the past, maybe we talk about this when we have like the problem in the deep south provinces, or also about the red shirt and yellow shirt conflict. But now we need to rethink of this, and we need to work more. And the court cannot easily work as a regularly criminal case, but every point is very important, and it's really the challenge of the future of Thailand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kun Nareeluc, would you like to add?
I actually agree with Dr. Suntariya. So I'm for the I will speak on behalf of the Ministry of Justice. In terms of Ministry of Justice, we try to improve our service in an electronic format, just like the court, because I think both of us are the same. We work in we try to enhance our service through the online platform or e-service. So to make sure that people can access to our service and our work easily, and even in the time of COVID pandemic, and also to enhance we are like Ministry of Justice, we have already developed the application and also digital platform to submit the electronics request to get the service from the ministry. And now we are broaden our service by try to develop capacity and get people who can speak other language, like especially in the Myanmar, Vietnam, or Laos and Cambodia language, like the language of neighboring country, to help the migrant worker. And which is also a big group of the people in the country as well. They try to provide legal advice through the legal expert that can speak the language as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Professor Punchada, apart from that, do you see other measures that could be taken to help especially low-income families, for example? You're on mute.
Sorry. Well, so I agree with both of the they are from more like the justice system. I agree with them, but I don't really have a background on this, so then I might not be able to to add more information.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. Maybe from your point of view, there is also this saying, what you can see, that the measures are even harsher for the people than the disease itself. So maybe Professor Punchada, maybe you have something more into this. Like, would you think that for the next wave there should there be another lockdown, or is the lockdown too harsh on people's life, and would would it be better to take other measurements, for example?
Yeah, I think the fifth wave will come for real, and we can hope for it, because the situation now, as you can see, if you live in Bangkok, everyone no more trying to do the COVID-19 preventions or universal preventions that the Prime Minister trying to talk about it every day, right? So then for the next wave, if we reach the same number, like 20,000, I think we cannot really avoid the lockdown once again, because I think the government, and especially those two doctors that walking around with the Prime Minister, I think they kind of scared of the the healthcare system. So then I think they will go back to lockdown once again. But if you have enough vaccine for everyone, especially those who already got the 2 shot of Sinovac, they should get another 3rd shot as soon as possible. As long as you have the vaccines, I think it's the only way that you can prevent the people to get COVID-19 virus, and to have or to open a new door for the economic recovery in Thailand. So then the vaccines, as they mentioned this morning, after the cabinet meeting yesterday, that they will have a lot of more than like 16 million inoculations from the AstraZeneca. Let's see whether we're going to have it for real, because in the past, when they said that they have 60 million, we don't really see anything. So then only the vaccines can protect Thailand, and then can lead Thailand to come back to the same situation before the crisis.
Okay, thank you very much. A call for vaccine and also more transparency. I think we are all very much aligned in this. Thank you very much. Looking at the time, we are very close to our ending. I would also give the floor to Asia Center. James, maybe if you have more questions from the floor or something to add on, please do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vanessa, and our colleagues at Friedrich Naumann Foundation and its partners for convening this very, very important end of the day panel. I can share with you that throughout the whole day, the issue of transparency in crisis communication and trust across a very, very fractured set of government agencies was articulated throughout the whole day, and I think you fine-tune some of the blind spots in this panel. So thank you very much.